Hello everyone, and welcome back to another Oscar prediction video, where today I will be taking a look at the category of Best Cinematography. So, we are about a week away from the Oscars now, and we are rapidly running out of categories to talk about, and the ones that are left are not easy, not by any stretch of the imagination. But cinematography, this is one where we have two main precursors, Critics' Choice and BAFTA, both of which have chosen a different winner. And this one's hard, because for the longest time I was going in a certain direction, and now I'm seeing more and more people lead me towards a different direction. So I don't know exactly what's going to win. This is going to be one of the more nail-biting, below-the-line categories of the night, but I have an inkling. So let's begin. Fifth most likely to win is Maria. Okay, so the cinematography of this film is done by Edward Lockman, who is on his fourth nomination. He was previously up for Far From Heaven, Carol, and El Conde. So out of everyone here, he is the cinematographer who has the most overdue narrative, which does help. The problem is this is the film's sole nomination. Maria was supposed to be a much bigger contender, namely for its star Angelina Jolie, who was just naturally expected to get in, and she did not. The film actually surprised with the cinematography nomination, in my opinion. I did not expect that to happen. To be fair, the cinematography in the film is very well done, so I can say that this is a deserved nomination for Lockman. But the film itself just did not catch on like the previous films that this director has made. Pablo Larraín this is the third film of his famous women trilogy, and the other two both got the lead actress in, and this one, Jolie's performance just did not take off in that way. And so, and also I found the film to be kind of boring myself, and I saw a lot of other people share similar sentiments. So, while the cinematography in this movie looks nice, the fact that that is the one aspect of the movie that was recognized by the Academy makes me think that it's just not a film that anyone is that enthusiastic about. It might get a few votes just because of Edward Lockman, people who wish he could have won for one of his previous films, but I don't think that there's enough of a narrative behind Lockman to award him. Fourth most likely to win is Emilia Perez. Cinematography by Paul Guilherme. This is his first nomination. Now, so much has been said about Emilia Perez, and I really don't want to rehash it in every single video, but I will say this. Out of all the nominations that this movie received, cinematography is probably one of the least egregious. I actually think there's some solid work that is being done here. I wouldn't nominate it in my own personal top 5, but I think the use of light and color is really vibrant. A lot of people complained about how flat the colors were in Wicked, and I think this movie really does make full use of the color. There are some scenes where it leans a little too hard into the yellow color filter for Mexico that has been criticized, but it's not as prevalent as some other Mexican depictions, and the shots that utilize other colors really are bold and stand out. It's funny to think that cinematography and makeup were two of the nominations that were not assured for this movie, when they're two of the nominations that feel the most deserved. But with all of that said, yeah, this movie is falling so fast in so many categories, and they're going to want to give it as few Oscars as possible. I do think they may not be able to get around giving it song or supporting actress, but they're certainly not going to branch out and give it anything that's outside of what's already expected. So while the cinematography in this film is honestly not that bad, I really don't think it's going to win. Third most likely to win is Dune Part 2. Cinematography by Greg Fraser, who previously won this category for the original Dune, and this movie, like the original Dune, looks spectacular. Arguably, it looks even more spectacular than the first one, because it brings in aspects like the black and white scenes for the arenas. It brings in some of the silhouette stuff, like the opening. There's some truly spectacular cinematography in this film, and there was a time when it seemed possible that it could win, but this movie has fallen hard since it opened. It only got 5 nominations as opposed to the original's 10, and it really does feel like they only nominated it, outside of Best Picture, they only nominated it in the tech categories that they absolutely had to. Cinematography, production design, visual effects, and sound. You really couldn't have gotten away from snubbing it in those. And they still managed to snub it in film editing and costume design. So this movie clearly not as beloved as the first one. And I just feel like they can give it the win for visual effects, and some people don't think it's winning sound. I think it's winning sound, but I really think that 2 is the absolute max for this movie, considering how long ago it came out. And yes, the cinematography in this film is gorgeous, but there is a feeling of been there, done that. We've already rewarded this cinematography before. We don't need to do it again, not when there's very strong, deserving work ahead of it. So it's a shame. The cinematography in this movie is absolutely stunning, and it would be a deserving winner, but a lot of Oscar voters feel like they've already done this. Second most likely to win is Nosferatu. So, cinematography by Jaron Blaska, who was previously nominated for The Lighthouse. I'm going to be very honest, this would be my vote. The cinematography in this film is absolutely stunning, and it won the Critics' Choice. So, I wouldn't be shocked to see it get a considerable amount of votes here. There are some scenes that are not quite black and white, but have this bluish tinge to them to represent moonlight that look just so spellbinding. And the way that the light and the shadow is utilized, the way that it's just so... I would argue it's right up there with Dune as the most showy cinematography in the lineup. And I would definitely vote for it. It looks so good. Now, the problem is it's not nominated for Best Picture. Now, ever since the expanded Best Picture lineup, we have only ever seen one non-Best Picture nominee win in this category, and that was Blade Runner 2049. Every other winner since 2010 has been a Best Picture nominee. And what's interesting is that Blade Runner 2049, that movie had the excuse of it was Roger Deakins, who was famously overdue by that point, and everyone wanted to give him an Oscar, and that movie just looked so spellbinding you couldn't deny it. So Deakins winning for that movie was this big... he had a narrative behind him. Blaschke doesn't really have a narrative behind him. If anyone has the narrative, it's Edward Lockman, but I definitely don't think he's winning. And this movie, while it looks so stunning, and it was well represented. 4 below-the-line nominations. Clearly, this is a well-liked movie. And I think it could happen. I really, really think it could happen. But the stats say to not bet against a Best Picture nominee in this category. And I would love it so much. And I was going to predict it. But I don't want to take too many broad swings this year. I want to play it mostly safe. And because of that, my prediction number 1 most likely to win is The Brutalist. Cinematography by Lol Crowley, who's on his first nomination. What a great name you have there, Lol. Okay, so in all due seriousness, I talked before when I did my production design video about how this movie feels so much bigger than it is. And I think a big factor of that is the cinematography. The way that it's shot, the way that they capture natural light and natural scenery. There's no big wide shots of the sets because they don't have massive sets, but they're able to put in wide shots in just the right time, and everywhere else they're able to make it feel intimate. And it's kind of a stunning magic trick where the scope feels so big, it feels like you're in this period epic, even though you never see anything that would be too expensive to build. So the cinematography is largely responsible for making the movie feel as big as it is on as small of a budget as it is. So I really do have to commend the cinematography for that reason. Even though it's not perhaps as showy as Nosferatu or Dune, it still is really compelling work. And here's the thing. My instinct is saying, oh, but they're not going to care about the inner technique. They're going to care about what looks good right in front of them. And Nosferatu, anyone can sit down in front of that and be like, that looks amazing. But It's not nominated for picture, and to be fair, it was never gonna get nominated for picture. It's a great movie, but the Oscars, one horror movie in picture is enough. And so, but if Nosferatu had won both major precursors, I would be going for it. But Brutalist won BAFTA. And I do think in this scenario, it makes more sense to go with BAFTA. BAFTA tends to be pretty good at predicting the below-the-line winners. And so I'm going to trust my gut and go for Brutalist. But this is one of those instances where I'm going with the one I would prefer not to see win, because if Nosferatu wins, I'll be wrong, but I'll be really, really happy about it. Nothing against the work done in The Brutalist, but Nosferatu is just so visually magical, and I would love for that to win so much. But Brutalist, I also understand why that would be a worthy achievement, because it's more subtle, it's less showy, and yet it's very, very effective at what it does. So Brutalist is my prediction. Thank you very much for watching, and tune in next time when I will be taking a look at the category of Best Actor. See you then.